I recently went to a lecture slash book launch of a very popular Scottish author who is who has long-standing connections to India, as does his wife. There were like a lot of school kids and college kids who came to attend the talk. So this was at the Anna Centenary Library, and it was being organized at like a huge scale that a lot of educational institutions were sending their kids to attend this event. Before I start, I absolutely loved the lecture for sure, but certain things kept popping up that did not sit right with me. First off, he basically boasted about how his family has like this connection to India since like a very long time and all of that. Yeah, sure, great. But at some level, it felt like a repetition of what the colonizers did. Like the ability to just completely ignore the colonial guilt and just boast about having connections to India, which was basically established because of colonialism and imperialism. So what are we boasting about? But that's beside the point. The second thing was, this guy kept criticizing the museums in Chennai. So one has to first of all understand that museums in India do not get enough funding, and even if they do, the right sort of knowledge and manpower that's required to run a museum, not a museum, just like most museums in India, is just like underdeveloped. And he kept saying it's so atrocious the way the displays are in the Egmore Museum, for example. And I get it. I get it to some extent. I get it. But I couldn't help thinking of the fact that you stole, not you as in that author, but the Britishers stole from all the countries they colonized, and you basically removed all resources that we had, and you took away our artifacts and you placed them in your museums, and you claim that that is your culture. So you do not get to comment on how atrocious the displays are in India. That's what he did. It just felt like you are repeating the colonial discourse again. You are blaming the ones who were colonized for not having enough knowledge and the know-how to display artifacts properly. There's just so much to unpack here. I just couldn't. Those comments really threw me off. Other than that, the way he traced how India played a huge role in the development of the whole knowledge system in all of Europe was something that was truly inspiring. Like, I didn't know a lot of things. I was surprised by the information that caught me. And that is also a reflection of how the white mind comes here, acts as like this enlightening agent, and then goes on to claim that we know more than you, like more than the natives, although it's the native knowledge system that you know of. He also said that Indian historians tend to use a lot of jargons, which throws off the general public, which I agree. Of course, it makes knowledge inaccessible to the common man. But again, he said, oh, I don't use jargons. Like, it felt like a repetition of this like white savior complex. Like, oh, your own intellectuals want to create this divide, but here I am creating access to knowledge by not using jargons. The duality of it was just mind-blowing for me. And like throughout that lecture, I thoroughly enjoyed the way knowledge was transferred to the audience, but I did not enjoy how that white supremacist sort of ideology it couldn't be restrained. It kept coming up, and that was just not funny. It was sad. Great Britain was done like a long time ago, so why are we still holding on to that? And that's what the white mind does. That's what white superiority does. So a lot of these institutions sent their kids here. If this was an Indian author, there wouldn't have been this much drive and engagement from the educational institutions themselves, and even the promoting of the same would have been comparatively limited. Like, this auditorium was like full. Everybody assembled there either came from like genuinely wanting to learn something, or because their schools forced them into it, because the schools thought this is a white man who's talking about something and it must be important. So, oops.